Hi guys, Elliot here from Tint School Online. Now here are the 5 biggest mistakes I see when newcomers are shrinking rear windows. Number 1 is going to be undercutting the film. So we mentioned in our training tutorials that you should never cut the film short when you are new to shrinking. The chances of creasing the film are going to be so much higher as opposed to when you're more experienced. And the most common places that you're going to crease the film is going to be on the edges towards where the film finishes. And this is because it's usually where the glass curves the most towards the bottom or the top corners. Now, if you know that you're going to be more likely to crease the film on the edges, then the worst thing you can do is cut it so close to the dot matrix and leave yourself no spare tint for those creases. So what we recommend is cutting the film past the dot matrix. If you do get the crease, you know that you're going to be cutting that film off anyway. Now number 2, this is the most common problem overall that I see, and that is just not understanding the process of shrinking the film. I see so many newcomers to tinting just shrinking on autopilot. They see other videos where they'll say shrink for 3 seconds and then push, and that is not how you will learn to shrink. You have to understand what is going on. Don't fall into the pattern of what you're doing if you don't really know what is happening when you're shrinking the film. And yes, in our training we do say stick to a shrink line, but you still have to understand what is happening to the film. For instance, you have to look at what is happening as you are heating it. Does it need a bit more heat? Have I heated it too much? Or is this going to be primed for a crease if I carry on? So again, you need to understand what is happening throughout this whole process in order to succeed. And you're only going to understand what is happening by evaluating every single part that is happening in front of you. Which then brings me to number 3, which is trying different things. So in order to be able to really understand what is happening with the film, you need to keep pushing yourself. If you make a mistake, for instance, don't throw that piece of film away or carry on shrinking it as normal. You need to use it as practice. Find out what happens when you do overheat the film. Find out what happens when you try and shrink and push the whole window out in 20 seconds. Try different things to help your understanding of the window film shrinking process. You're going to learn so much quicker by pushing your boundaries and seeing what is possible with the film than just keep trying what you're doing if you feel like it's not going to plan. Number 4 is going to be over pushing the film. As single mistakes go, this is the most common mistake you'll make. Again, it's the autopilot mode, where you think that you held the heat gun on the glass for long enough and then you just push it without paying attention to what is really happening. Check if it's shrunk, then push out only what is shrunk. So I'm just going to show you a clip from one of our shrinking tutorials inside the course, and it's the hazard perception tutorial. So this is where we're going to be watching over a student to see the mistakes he makes so we can liken and identify them to the mistakes that you are going to make. If he improved his technique. So here, he's got a crease. There. Now how did he do it? So here, you didn't really even touch it with the heat. It didn't even shrink it at all. But then when you're going to push, you only push out what shrunk. Nothing is shrunk. He didn't stop and identify. And look how far he pushed. There, that's the crease, steamroll crease, pushing out what isn't shrunk. It was exactly what I said he was doing wrong on the Astra. And out of all the mistakes I see, again, this is by far the most common mistake. So what basically happens is, in autopilot, you shrink the top of the finger and then you push way too far. You push what isn't shrunk and you're going to end up getting the steamroller crease, which is where you try to force the film down when it's not shrunk, thus causing it to fold on itself, where you get, again, the steamroller crease. Now, what this will look like is it will be a thick, sharp crease that you can almost pick with your fingernail. And number 5 is over shrinking the film. So this is another common mistake. You're going to need to understand what is shrunk and what isn't shrunk, and when it's ready to be pushed out. You don't want to nuke the film if it's already shrunk. This is why we talk about the shrink line. So as you can see here, this is my shrink line. So this one here, this finger, is coming from the bottom, which means it needs to be shrunk, whereas this above the shrink line is already shrunk and can easily be pushed out. So many videos I've seen where people are spending so much time heating this section more than what they need to, and again, it's already shrunk. You can just push it out. You're at risk of burning the film or getting the banana tension marks. So there are my top 5 reasons to the mistakes many of you are going to be making when shrinking. Again, just be very careful not to go into the autopilot mode. I see other videos out there that, again, they're going to try to tell you to follow exact rules, but you need to understand what is happening and evaluate everything that's happening in order to succeed, because unfortunately not all back windows are the same. So what you could do is have a friend record you, and then you could re-watch it yourself, and you could sit back and have a better point of view and point out any errors that you may make. So shrinking is going to be the hardest method to pick up when starting out, but it is also the most enjoyable, and you have to understand you will make mistakes. Know that, it's not just going to happen overnight. I didn't get to shrinking windows without all the same mistakes that you're going to be making right now. So, don't give up. I promise once you crack it, it's where the fun begins. And if you're serious about the tint industry, feel free to check out our 180 tutorial program. It includes 5 courses on how you can start and build your own profitable window tinting business. And it also has 4 shrinking tutorials that are over an hour long. And also in the description below, I've added a free 240-page step-by-step manual for you that you can follow when tinting so you don't miss any steps. So I forgot to say in the video, so I'm doing this while I'm making the B-roll, while I'm wasting all this film to show you what happens. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're only going to upload, good content like this. We won't spam you of anything. Again, if you're interested in window tinting, we'll only upload the best content. And if you are struggling with anything as well, like all the other videos, just comment below and our team will try to help you and comment back to everybody we can.